Hey guys, today we're going to look at polynomial long division. Now before we get into dividing polynomials, let's remember how to do long division in terms of numbers, simply because the process by which you divide numbers using long division is the same as when you divide polynomials. So let's say we have here 277 divided by 12. First, what we do is we look at how many times does 12 go into 27, which is 2. Then what do? We multiply the 2 times 12, which gives me 24. Next, we subtract. When we subtract, we get 3. Then we bring down the next number. Now we do, how many times does 12 go into 37, which is 3. And then we multiply again. 3 times 12 is 36. Subtract once more, and we get 1. Since there's nothing left to bring down, this is your remainder. Now, how would we normally write our final answer? In other math classes, lower level math classes, we normally would write 23 remainder 1. But once you move up in level, we start writing our answers like this: 23 and 1 over 12. So we put the remainder over the divisor. So a couple of things to keep in mind so that way you're not lost in terms of vocabulary. Whatever you are dividing, that is the divisor. What is getting divided by is the dividend. And then the answer is called the quotient. So like I said, the process of polynomial division is very similar to that of dividing numbers. And here are all the steps when you're doing polynomial long division. First, you're going to make sure that the terms are arranged in both the dividend and the divisor in descending powers of any variable, meaning you want both the dividend and the divisor to be written in standard form. Then you would divide the first term in the dividend by the first term in the divisor, and the result is the first term of the quotient. Then just like we do with numbers, then we multiply, and then we subtract, bring down the next term, and repeat until you get to the very end. So let's try that out. We have here 4x to the third plus 2x squared plus 3x plus 5 divided by x squared plus 3x plus 1. Now, whatever comes after the division symbol, that is your divisor. So that is what we are going to write on the outside. And this is already all written in standard form, so we're just going to copy it down. And then the dividend is what is getting divided. So 4x to the third plus 2x squared plus 3x plus 5. So first we look at the first terms. What do I need to multiply x squared in order to get 4x to the third? And that would be 4x. Now what do? We multiply. So we're going to distribute the 4x to every term in the dividend. 4x times x squared is 4x to the third. 4x times 3x is a positive 12x squared. And 4x times 1 is a positive 4x. Your next step is to subtract. When you are subtracting, in this case, this polynomial here, basically what that means is you're going to switch all of your signs. So I'm going to switch these here, because if you're subtracting, then that means you would be distributing a negative. So all of your signs would switch. Now we combine. If you did this correctly, your first terms will always cancel. Then 2x squared minus 12x squared is negative 10x squared. 3x minus 4x is negative x. And then we bring down the next term, so plus 5. Now we repeat this process. What do we need to multiply x squared to get negative 10x squared? So notice that you're only focusing on the first terms, and then everything else will follow. So in order to get negative 10x squared, we would have to multiply x squared by negative 10. And now we're going to distribute this negative 10 just like we did with the 4x. Negative 10 times x squared is negative 10x squared. Negative 10 times 3x is negative 30x. And negative 10 times 1 is negative 10. Next, we subtract, so we're going to switch all of the signs. These terms will cancel. Negative x plus 30x is 29x. And 5 plus 10 is 15. Since there is nothing to bring down, this is the remainder. Now, how would we write our final answer? We would write our quotient, so 4x minus 10. Then we're going to add the remainder, and we put the remainder all over what we just divided by, the divisor. So x squared plus 3x plus 1. And this would be our final answer. Let's try that with a couple more examples. Here we have 6x to the fourth plus 5x to the third plus 2x plus 8 divided by x squared plus 2x minus 5. Now I put here in blue. Before dividing, be sure that each polynomial is written in standard form. They are. The powers are going in decreasing order. And that placeholders with zero coefficients are inserted where needed for missing powers of the variable. So if you look at every single term, you have to make sure that all of the exponents are going in decreasing order and that you are not missing any exponents. So for example, here it goes from 4 to 3 to 1. So we're missing the x squared right in between. So when we're writing this out, we have to take that into account, and you're going to see why in a moment. My divisor here isn't missing any terms, so I'm just going to copy that down. And now here, when I write out my dividend, I have the 6x to the fourth plus 5x to the third. I am missing the x squared, so I'm going to write plus 0x squared. And this is because when we do the division, at some point we are going to have a variable that has x squared. And if I don't have this as a placeholder, the variables will not line up and you won't be able to subtract. So that's why we put that there. Then you just continue writing the rest of the problem. So plus 2x plus 8. Now we start. What do I need to multiply x squared in order to get 6x to the fourth? And that would be 6x squared. We distribute. 6x squared times x squared is 6x to the fourth. 6x squared times 2x is plus 12x to the third. And 6x squared times negative 5 is negative 30x squared. So see here how the x squareds line up. If you didn't put that x squared there, that 0x squared, then it wouldn't line up and you would have 2x minus 30x squared, which you would not be able to subtract. So now we have to subtract, so we're going to switch all of the signs. My first terms, remember, should always cancel. 5x to the third minus 12x to the third is negative 7x to the third. 0x squared plus 30x squared, that's just 30x squared. And then we bring down the next term, so plus 2x. Now we repeat. What do I need to multiply x squared in order to get negative 7x to the third? And that would be negative 7x. Then we distribute this negative 7x. Negative 7x times x squared is negative 7x to the third. Negative 7x times 2x is negative 14x squared. And negative 7x times negative 5 is a positive 35x. Switch all the signs. My first terms here cancel. 30x squared plus 14x squared is 44x squared. And 2x minus 35x is negative 33x. We have one more term to bring down, so plus 8. And now we repeat one last time. In order to get 44x squared, I would need to multiply x squared by a positive 44. And now we distribute the 44. 44 times x squared is 44x squared. 44 times 2x is a positive 88x. And 44 times negative 5 is negative 220. Now we switch all the signs. My first terms here cancel. Negative 33x minus 88x is negative 121x. And then 8 plus 220 is plus 228. This is my remainder. So my final answer will be written as 6x squared minus 7x plus 44. Now I'm going to add my remainder, so I'm just going to put plus, and now negative 121x plus 228, and everything is over my divisor, so the x squared plus 2x minus 5. Let's try a few more before we move on. We have here 15x to the third plus 8x minus 12 divided by 3x squared plus 6x plus 1. This is my divisor, so I'm going to write that first. It's not missing any terms, so I'm just copying it down. However, my next polynomial is missing a term. We're missing the x squared once more. So I'm going to have to add a 0x squared. So 15x to the third plus 0x squared plus 8x minus 12. Now, what do I need to multiply 3x squared to get 15x to the third? And that would be 5x. Distribute the 5x, and we get 15x to the third plus 30x squared plus 5x. Switch all the signs and combine. These terms here cancel. 0x squared minus 30x squared is negative 30x squared. 8x minus 5x is plus 3x, and then we bring down the last term, which is negative 12. In order to get negative 30x squared, we need to multiply 3x squared by negative 10. So now I'm going to distribute the negative 10, which is negative 30x squared minus 60x minus 10. Switch all the signs. My first terms cancel. 3x plus 60x is 63x. And negative 12 plus 10 is negative 2. This is my remainder. So my final answer would be 5x minus 10 plus 63x minus 2. And we're going to put the remainder over the divisor. 3x squared plus 6x plus 1. Let's look at this last example here. We have 3x to the fourth plus 15x to the third plus 3x squared minus 12x plus 4 divided by x squared plus 4x minus 2. So if we look at everything here, nothing is missing any terms. So we can just copy that down. So x squared plus 4x minus 2 divided by, it's dividing 3x to the fourth plus 15x to the third plus 3x squared minus 12x plus 4. So in order to get 3x to the fourth, we would have to multiply x squared by 3x squared. Distribute the 3x squared, and we get 3x to the fourth plus 12x squared, to the third, minus 6x squared. Oops, I forgot the exponent here. Switch all the signs. Your first terms cancel. 15x to the third minus 12x to the third is 3x to the third. 3x squared plus 6x squared is a positive 9x squared. Bring down the next term, so minus 12x. Now, what do we need to multiply 3x to the third in order to get x squared? And that would be a positive 3x. Now we distribute. So 3x to the third. 3x times 4x is a positive 12x squared. And 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x. Switch all the signs. These here cancel. 9x squared minus 12x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 12x plus 6 is negative 6x. And then we bring down our last and final term, plus 4. Now what do we need to multiply x squared to get negative 3x squared? And that would be negative 3. So now we distribute the negative 3 to the divisor. Negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times 4x is negative 12x. And negative 3 times negative 2 is a positive 6. Switch all the signs. These here cancel. Negative 6x plus 12x is 6x. And 4 minus 6 is negative 2. So this would be my remainder. So my final answer would be 3x squared plus 3x minus 3. And now I'm going to add the remainder and put it over the divisor. X squared plus 4x minus 2. And this would be our final answer. Now, although there is more to this lesson in terms of polynomial division, I'm going to stop here because then we're going to go on to synthetic division. So if you need to review the rest of this lesson, feel free to go to the second part of the video.